Hello and welcome to this week's episode. I'm joined by Matthew Dennis, who I met in India early this year. And Matt is a journalist who writes about accessible travel. He's also known as the Empowered Traveller. Matt has been featured in publications like The Metro, Evening Standard, The Independent, The iPaper, Adventure.com, and many more. So today, we're going to speak about Matt's journey in travel, being a travel writer and a journalist, as well as some of his favourite places in the world. Matt, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey James, hey, it's great to be here. It's really good to see you again as well. It's been a while since we caught up last, so yeah, honoured to be on the podcast and good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. It's been actually quite a few months, actually. It kind of flew by, the trip itself, but then, God, that was in March, right? And a lot has happened since then.
Yeah, was it March? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it seems longer. It does seem longer.
Yeah. It's weird how things can move quickly, isn't it? In the travel world or world in general, should I say?
Yeah, there's always something to keep your eye on and something keeps it ticking over.
So where are you based right now, Matt?
So I'm in the UK, and oddly enough, at the moment, it is stiflingly hot, which is quite unusual
Rare.
for here. Yeah, rare, but very humid as well. And I'm right down in the southwest, so on the border
Lovely.
between Devon and Cornwall. There's a little town that if you ever say to English people where you're from, I always use as a pin, which is Bude. And a lot of people in the UK have been here on holiday.
Ah, it's interesting because when you travel when you're younger, you meet loads of people, right, on the backpacker trail or whatever. And one of the people I met was a couple from Bude. Yeah,
Oh, really?
they do that Boxing Day or Christmas morning swim and stuff like that, right? And yeah, they're from Bude. Yeah.
That's right. They get a couple thousand people running to the
Yeah.
sea on Christmas morning every year. Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger as the years go by.
It looks lovely down there, to be fair.
It's a great neck of the woods. It really is. It has that balance because we're right in the countryside. We're right in the middle of nowhere. That we have a beautiful coastline. We have lots of open spaces. We've got Dartmoor just down the road. We've got all the North Devon, North Cornwall coast, all the way down, some great surf. However, if you want to get to an airport, you want to get to a city, you've got to be prepared to have an hour, 2-hour journey, 3-hour journey before you get anywhere else. So pros and cons.
I was then going to ask, where is like the nearest big place?
So Exeter from here is an hour away, and Bristol's about 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Is Exeter International Airport?
Bristol's the
but not Exeter.
One.
You can't fly anywhere from there.
There is one in Exeter, but it's very much UK holiday destination places. So Spain, Ibiza,
classic,
and those sorts of destinations. And then when you get to wintertime, the flights cut right back as well. So yeah, but Bristol's the big one. Unfortunately, my sister lives right next door to Bristol Airport, so it saves on hotel fees.
Yeah,
when I have to go and fly places.
I was going to say, back in the day, I think you used to be able to fly between Norwich and Exeter. That used to be a little route they used to do. Yeah, I don't think they do it anymore. But hey, it's a shame.
I guess it's that distance travel thing, isn't it? That when you live in a country the size of Canada, a sort of a 4-hour drive isn't really that much given the scale of the country. But for somebody in the UK, 4-hour drive from here to Norwich is massive.
Is there any need for people going to Norwich and to Exeter, vice versa? I'm not sure.
I think most people just drive from one of those to London, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
stop there.
Yeah. It's devastating, but hey, because I was thinking like we'll get onto more travel in a bit, but the islands just off the southwest coast, what are they called again? They are called
Scilly Isles.
Yes, and they're always. I don't know if they're under the radar. I don't know if you would agree with that, but they kind of are the idyllic UK islands. If you want a bit of weather, nice beach, very chill, right? But no one really knows they're there, do they?
Yeah, so they're about 20 miles off of Land's End, so right at the bottom tip of Cornwall. And you can get a helicopter over from Penzance, I think, and there's a boat that goes over from Penzance.
Yeah.
And they are beautiful. Once you get down that far in Cornwall anyway, it is beautiful. Yeah. But for all intents and purposes, you're talking white sand beaches, you're talking turquoise clear water where you can see the bottom of the sea. Unfortunately, you don't get the Caribbean temperatures with it, but I mean, yeah, it is a superb set of islands that are over there. It's apparently where Avalon is meant to be, that King Arthur went to after he was killed.
Really?
Or when he was the Lady of the Lake took him away. So they're meant to be the Isles of Avalon.
That's a great stat. Okay, have you been before? Or
I haven't. No. But it's one of my dad's favourite locations. He goes most years, and he goes to the same place every time he goes, and he just loves it. And he does hiking, wandering around from isle to isle. and just, idyllic, remote, removed from people. And if you wanted to slow down,
Yeah.
it's a perfect place to go. Perfect.
It's high on my list, actually, when I go back to UK for a period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, Scotland is huge. It's a big country, right? But I think like the northwest part of Scotland, but I think the Scilly Isles down the southwest, I think those two with Devon and Cornwall, I think they're definitely up there in my top 3 or 4 things to see in UK for sure.
There's a lot of similarities if you see the pictures of beaches in
Yeah.
the far north in Scotland and onto the Isles, Orkney Isles and so forth. They look quite similar at either ends of the UK. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's a little bit warmer
Yeah.
as you go down towards Scilly, but yeah, definitely advise it. Absolutely advise it. And also, just when you come, do look up the mythology behind it because there's
Yeah.
stories that are connected with it. Yeah, they're fascinating. There's some really good stuff there.
Amazing. Okay. We'll get that on the go. We'll get a Wing in It collaboration if you fancy it.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Try and sell that story
100%.
somewhere. Yeah, why not? First, I want to do backstory and early travel memories. Are you initially from the Southwest? And if so, what was travel like? I imagine you might, if you're from the Southwest, you're probably a bit like Norfolk, where I'm from, where a beach is a regular occurrence. Little villages. We have one big city in Norwich, of course, but there is travel in the county, which I think is quite rare for a lot of people in the UK because they do have to go out maybe towards the coastal areas or somewhere else. So yeah, tell us a bit about that.
So yeah, I mean, like you in Norfolk, we're so lucky to live in this part of the world in Devon and Cornwall because, as I said, we've got beaches all along the coast. So come summertime when I was a kid, what I remember a lot of is heading down to the beach after school or in the summer holidays, going down to the beach and taking, whether it was after school or whether it was in the holidays, taking packed lunches down and going and sitting on the beach all day and taking the old polystyrene boards, which thankfully nobody uses anymore, and surfing and jumping in and out of the water and spending days and days on the beach. I mean, we as kids were really lucky because we did tend to go on family holidays abroad, which in that we're talking the early 80s, which it was common-ish, but it was nowhere near as sort of cheap and easy flights as it is nowadays. We used to spend a little bit of time in the south of France, but I can always remember Greece, being taken to Greece a couple of times when I was a kid. Don't ask me where it was because my geography at that point in time was pretty poor. But I had an obsession with Greek mythology anyway. So, with the Spartans and all that sort of things and the wars of the Thermopylae and battles of Thermopylae and all those sorts of things and the Peloponnesian Wars. And we got taken to Greece and shown around all these ancient monuments. And I remember just being absolutely caught up in the stories that were in these places and the history that was in these places. And of course, in a kid's mind, you still got minotaurs wandering around the place.
Yeah.
You still got heroes like Achilles and everything wandering around everywhere. And to be taken somewhere that was so different when you're that age and you still got those stories running around your head is really inspirational, and it really fed my love for stories and really helped to build that mind map of how the world looks. And it was brilliant. I used to love it. And then we'd again spend a lot of time on beaches, knowing that we'd come back absolutely suntan from top to bottom and having spent days and days in swimming pools and the sea, around monuments, and yeah, so we were very lucky. We were very lucky as kids.
I think when I was younger, I don't know if you had this sense, but I was obsessed with trying to find paradise. I think I still am, actually. Mainly from the Tom and Jerry episode when they go to Hawaii. So, because we didn't travel at all when we were younger, right? Very poor. Travel was not a thing, apart from the odd caravan trip, which would probably be north, not south. When I used to watch Tom and Jerry, I don't know if you know Tom and Jerry that well. I don't know. I'm not an expert anymore, but I do remember that episode where he goes to Hawaii, where they go, Tom and Jerry go to Hawaii, and it's got that Hawaiian music in the background. It's got that like caricature, like Golden Sand Beach. I'm like, is there anyone in the world that is like that? Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, all the dancing. Ever since then, I guess early doors, I had that sort of in the back of mind, like, I wonder where paradise would be on Earth. So I think I'm still trying to find it. The closest place I've found so far is Cook Islands. I think that's got to be the closest place.
Where can you remember going then as a kid? When was your first travel experience where you thought, actually, I quite like this? Because obviously we've both made careers out of traveling, right?
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I'd have to say nowhere. I think we used to go to like places like Skegness, which are, yeah, in case we've got any Skegness listeners, they're okay. Like it's a thing, but Yarmouth to Skegness is not much different. So in looking back, I think it's the same. So I didn't really think there was a thing, but I do remember we did go to Cornwall once. That must have been early mid-90s. I don't remember too much, but I remember driving down, and I remember it's so green and so far away. Right, it's like 4 or 5 hours
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think that probably early doors had something. But if you want to know, like a first trip, I went to the classic school trips, the history trips, which was
Okay.
in Germany and Belgium predominantly. I said before, it's like you're just trying to hook up with your fellow classmates, aren't you? But there is something in that where the travel aspect is going on the coach and getting off and being told something, right? There's that
Yeah.
sort of, I don't know, 5 days trying to do that. And then in sixth form, I think properly travel, where I went to Germany again, Berlin it was, and Cologne. I think that was a trip where I thought, oh, do you know what? This seems pretty cool.
I don't know whether you agree as well, but on these sorts of trips that I used to go, particularly with schools or when you were away, that one of the things that I used to love was going to supermarkets. I still kind of
Yeah,
do like going to
yeah,
supermarkets because everything was different. You'd have different brands of sweets or whatever it was when you were a kid, or different. Now you'd have to look at different brands of beer that you can buy, but
yeah,
that sort of, they like encapsulate a different world, if you like, the shops and the supermarkets, and I kind of like that feeling. I still like going to food markets now, where wherever I go, I kind of look for a market to go and have a little wander around. I do like going to supermarkets
yeah.
and just
Something
having a
about it.
stomp bag. Yeah, there is something about it.
For Belgium, the drinking age is 16. So when we went at
Mm.
15, you're not like too far away from maybe getting away with it. So that was part of the game as well, trying to buy beer. And like we used to buy beer and stash it I guess we stayed in the hostel, I suppose, back in the day. Yeah. And kind of drink, but like, when the teachers aren't looking, but they're getting pissed as well. So like, yeah, it's all a big piss up really, isn't it?
We had a school trip to Paris many, many years ago. And that was obviously still francs then and not euros.
Oh yeah.
So it turned out that a 1 franc coin, which was probably equivalent to sort of 50p, 60p, was the same size as the old 5p's.
Oh, okay.
And vending machines, which sold alcohol at that point, didn't know the difference between the two. So we were taking 5p's in and getting cans of beer out of the bottom and hiding them like you did from your teachers. And then
Yeah.
as soon as the teachers went to bed, everybody sort of got a big beer stash going on somewhere.
That's a long time ago, and if you think about it. Bloody hell. Yeah.
Imagine going around Europe, like having to deal with like half a dozen, 10 currencies if you go to 10 countries. That'd just
Yeah,
be
yeah.
hard work.
And also the teachers like dealing with, yeah, sort of like 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. Bloody hell. I mean, where do you start with that?
Yeah,
Crikey.
no. Take my hats off to any teachers.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
teachers, absolutely. You
Yeah.
do a cracking job, and I don't envy you at all.
No, absolutely not. But I think the sixth form trip, when you're a bit more worldly, I think that's a good trip to do. And I think, yeah, that kind of stemmed from that. But I wasn't really into travel though. It wasn't, not like now. It wasn't like a thing. I think music was my thing because I got into music college like straight after sixth form, right? Well, after a year. I think I was very much on that track, not
Okay.
travel. Yeah, that only switched during my degree when I went to Australia. So Australia is probably the first place where I thought, wow, I actually can't believe I'm seeing this, and it's all new and seems to be done correctly and hot and yeah, crazy.
Different, very different.
Yeah, and same at the same time, right? You got the English spoken there. They watch cricket. They seem to be doing stuff that we do, but maybe it's a little bit better. That's what I thought at the time. Yeah.
It is. It's a great way of getting out there to explore the world and noticing the differences. And it's the differences within a comfort zone that help you to sort of develop that love. I think you always need something to cling on to sometimes. When you first start traveling,
Yeah.
I can't imagine being, so for instance, you imagine if your first trip had been India. Like, I mean, can you imagine going from as a sort of a Brit, going your first trip, first time you go abroad and landing in the middle of where we were, Bangalore, for instance, and like,
God,
it
can you
would
imagine?
just blow your mind, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That was kind of Bangkok for me in 2013 when I first went to
That was
Asia.
it.
Yeah. I couldn't believe what I was seeing in terms of smell, the busyness, the scams, relentless.
Yeah.
Luckily, India was after that when I first went, so I've had a bit of experience. But yeah, imagine your first like proper, maybe outside of Western Europe is, yeah, I'm going to go to India. That's a bold move. It's a bold move. What was the trip that you kind of remember where I know you said you loved the Greece trips and the France, South of France trips. What about, was there a trip maybe by yourself or when you're a bit older, we thought, actually, I do love travel as a thing and I want to do more of it or try and incorporate it into my life or career?
I mean, the trip that kind of inspired the love of actually traveling was, so I went to uni and studied at uni for, I don't know, 5 years. I think it took me to do my degree in hotel and catering. And then, for a few years after that, I sort of stayed working around that neck of the woods and didn't go abroad from when I left home until I was about 26, 27, I suppose,
Yeah.
because, wrapped up in what you were doing, life was unraveling in front of you, or all happening in front of you. So I didn't go anywhere for a long time. And then I was in Portsmouth studying and I moved back to Devon. But on the way, I decided I was going to go and do interrail around Europe.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the trip that really sort of inspired me to, or sparked my love of traveling, like properly traveling.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still talking, what are we talking, early 2000s. So I didn't have a mobile phone. There was internet, but it was internet cafes. And I mean, not a lot of people were on the internet yet. It was still a little bit hit and miss as to whether people were on it or not.
Yeah.
And I think I jumped on the train in London, went on the Eurotunnel over to Gare du Nord, and then travelled down through France, down to Toulouse, over to the coast, and then across the north of Spain, down through Portugal. The idea was to go and do a complete loop all the way around Europe, sort of take in Italy and then Greece, and then come back up through Czechoslovakia, into Poland, back through Germany, stop at the obligatory Amsterdam on the way home, and then come back to the UK. But I got as far as going down to Toulouse, across to Bayonne, down across the sort of north of Spain, down through Portugal, back up through Portugal, and got back into through south of France and into Italy. And I just love Italy so much that I stayed there. I didn't go anywhere after that. I just travelled around different places in Italy for the remainder of the time that I had on my Interrail ticket. It was very difficult to book, or challenging to book things in advance. You would turn up in a city on the day that you were staying there without having anything booked. And then the first thing you did when you got off the train was, right, I've got to go and find a hostel to stay in. I've got to go and find somewhere to stay in. And, there was nights where I was on the verge of sleeping in train stations, on the verge of sleeping on park benches. And then it just occurred at the last minute, which was just, you didn't think were going to happen. Your brain's automatically assuming the worst. And then something out of nowhere creeps up and shows itself. It's where I kind of found my overarching belief that, generally speaking, most people are good people.
Yes,
most people want to help you. Most people want to do what they can to sort you out. And I remember, old ladies who have sort of gone, no, this isn't the way you need to go, when I've asked them directions, and refused to not come with me to make sure that I got there safely, to people who were just about to close, who had a friend who owned a hostel or knew somebody who had a hostel, and they phoned them, and then at the last minute I've managed to get a bed in a hostel. And instances like that sort of garner that intrigue about other people's lives, garner the intrigue about what's in different places, and then give you that love of traveling and not quite knowing what's around the next corner. And I think the other thing that inspired was a building of confidence in yourself. Because you don't know how you're going to deal with every situation. You don't know what you're going to come up against. You don't know what the challenges are going to be. And when you come out the other side of them, 9 times out of 10, pretty much unscathed, you think, I dealt with it. I can deal with stuff that occurs at the last moment. It's a really big confidence builder for when you're that sort of age and when you're in your mid-20s, to know that you can step outside your comfort zone. And particularly for me at that point, because I mean, we talked about accessibility. So I have a paralysed leg and I walk with crutches. So I was doing the Interrail with the pair of crutches and a backpack and everything else. And sort of, I wasn't sure what I could and couldn't do. And to be able to put myself in those situations, and to be able to find a bed for the night, develop relationships with different people who maybe didn't speak your language, or you only spoke partial bits of each other's languages, was really liberating. It was really liberating for me. So, and it just inspired my love. And when I came back full of beans, you're almost a different person. You have that injection of confidence that sort of pushes you to do more. I fell in love with Florence on that trip. I don't know if you've ever been to Florence. Firenze.
No, criminally.
No. It's a beautiful place. And I turned up And that was one of the nights where I was really thinking I'm going to have to sleep in Florence Central
Yeah.
Station. Right at the last minute, somebody knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who got me a bed in a hostel, and they literally put another bed in the hostel for me.
That's
And then
amazing.
within 3 or 4 days of staying in there and being part of the group of people that were in this hostel, I was helping to host the the tours, the trips around for the new
Bloody hell.
people that were coming into the hostel. And then,
That's a
it's sort of
turnaround.
that
Yeah.
thing that there was sort of this thing within the hostel of, if you'd been there for 3 or 4 days, because you'd been there so intensely,
Yeah.
it sort of brought you along, and you could be part of the host for the tour for the people that had just come in and turned up in Florence
God,
that day.
that's crazy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I love the sense of adventure. I think I don't know if we lose that anymore because of internet. I don't know if that's like an old person's thing to say, but if you think about it, can you go anywhere now where internet is not that big or that accessible and have that adventure where you're going to have to turn up and do what you did 20 years ago or more than 20 years ago and just wing it a little bit and hope that speaking to people will get you somewhere, get you a bed? Can you do it anymore? Is that possible?
I mean, the last time I did anything like that was close enough, not that didn't involve the internet, was in Cuba.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes,
So
you're
at
right.
that point, it was about 10 or 12 years ago, and there wasn't a great internet connection there. And there wasn't, you had to stand outside a hotel if you wanted internet connection. And a lot of people
Yeah.
still didn't have internet over there.
Yeah.
And that was the closest we got. And again, it was people, we booked the initial place where we were staying, and then it was people knowing people knowing
Yeah.
people, and then people putting you in touch with those people so that they could put you in a taxi, and that taxi will go around, pick other people up, and then take you all to that place that you were going to. And we stayed in the third cousin once removed of the person we'd originally stayed with. But I think you're right. I mean, the adventure that you had back when there was no mobile phones perhaps isn't there, but there's still a lot that requires doing, and still a lot
Yes.
of adventure to be had out there, whether or not you've got a mobile phone attached to you. My first experience of it was around Europe, which is relatively tame, really. I mean,
Yeah.
once you've
Easy
travelled
travel a
there.
little bit, innit? Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you go to Africa, even if you've got a mobile phone, you start traveling around sub-Saharan Africa,
Yeah.
you're probably going to come up to a lot of adventures and a lot of having to wing it a little bit. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. I did talk quite a bit in the podcast about that. Can you recreate the old times? Maybe it's just time to move on. Maybe we take that as a period of time and now we move on to the next period, which is an interesting part of travel. But I'll come back to that actually. But before we go to that, you mentioned your leg. Now, this is obviously a big part of your message as a writer, as a YouTuber, whatever you do creatively, is about accessible travel. So can you talk to us a little bit about your background with that? And you mentioned your leg, like what happened there and how that has influenced your travels now.
I was about 18. It was about 1994, which kind of gives it away how old I am.
Yeah, old.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I have these grey hairs put in. Yeah,
Oh,
every
mate,
week.
I've got a grey beard, so I can't really speak. Father Christmas over here.
So yeah, it was about 1994, and I had an illness that knocked me out for about 3 days, and the immune response damaged the nerve cells in my spine. So when I came round and went to get out of bed in hospital, then both my legs didn't work at that point. One of my legs had gone completely. One was really, really shaky. Fortunately, I got the use of my left leg back again, which is fantastic. So very blessed with that. And then moving on from there, I got orthotics built to support the use of my right leg. So I wear a full leg brace, which locks at the knee. So I have no muscle use in the right leg at all. And I've got full sensation, but no use of it. So it locks straight, which means that it's fine, walking around the house and things like that. But when you come to walking hills, or when you come to walking uneven ground, or when you come to walking distances, or when you come to anything like that, it becomes really quite tricky. So when I'm doing that, I walk with crutches. So it's quite a big thing to hit you when you're 18, because when you're 18, you kind of don't know who you are anyway, and you're kind of just working the world out and working out where you fit in it. And then suddenly you have this big thing that comes up in your life, and it changes who you thought you were in the first place, even when you didn't know where you're going or who you were becoming or anything like that. So it's quite a big shock to the system. But as I said, when I got to go out on the trains and got to go do Interrail, it was a real confidence boost. a real confidence boost for me to know that I could go and do it. I mean, I had no idea how I was going to do it. I had no idea if I could do it. It was just, I knew that I had to go do something that would make me feel independent, that would make me feel a little bit liberated. I think I've said before, liberated.
Yeah.
And then ever since that, the sense of achievement and confidence that I get from traveling hasn't ceased. It hasn't stopped. So every time I get back, I'm buzzing. And it's not just now from traveling with a disability, but just because of the love of traveling and seeing different people, different cultures, different places, different foods, all those sorts of things. But this is why I have focused, or part of my work is focused on accessible travel, purely for that reason. It's because it can liberate your mind. And, so much about what you are able to do is down to mindset. Everybody has, disabled people will have some form of physical disability, some have mental disability, but your mindset is a huge influence on what you can and can't achieve. And a lot of the time, like I was perceiving that I was limited in what I could do. I could no longer play football. I could no longer do this. I could no longer do that. I could no longer walk unaided. And these are the things you kind of get told when these things happen to you. Let's not forget, the majority of people who are disabled become disabled at some point. They don't start their life disabled.
Yes.
The majority of people become disabled. So there's always that shift from being able to do something, or not always, but there's that shift from being able to do something to suddenly not being able to do it. I mean, I can remember a doctor telling my mum and dad in front of me that he's not going to be able to walk again. And that's huge. And if you're sitting in the background, you believe what the guy in the white coat and the stethoscope said, because you trust the guy.
Yeah.
And that immediately sets your mindset for what is possible. And I think that limitation is something that I've striven to break, and it's broken for me in what I've done personally. And then I would strive to break for other people by saying, look, here's a little bit of reassurance. If I can write about what is there, what isn't there, then you know about some of the challenges you may come up against, you know about some of the difficulties you may come up against. But if I can do it, then, you can do it. There's something that you can do here that helps to push your boundaries, where you can go and explore what you can do, what you're capable of. I think it's really important.
Such an underrated point, that about the mental side, because from someone who's not experienced it, I'll come to my own story in a minute. I got close one time, I think. But you think, because there's not a ramp going up to, I don't know, a building, or you think that level is a problem, but actually is actually a step before, isn't it? Where you mentioned that people are probably just sitting at home thinking they can't do it, or even trying maybe, or trying to see if they can do it. So that is the first step, is mentally, I guess you've got to just bite the bullet and go for somewhere. Maybe like just try and give it a go, right? Because you never know unless you try, right? But I guess that's such a big step to get from, maybe you're sitting in your house, or you're just not in a good place because you think you can't go anywhere, to making that step to booking somewhere and giving it a go. If it doesn't work out, at least you tried, right? But you've got to do that first step, haven't you?
Yeah, you have got to take that first step, definitely. And I think, a lot of it comes with confidence in yourself and self-perception, because your perception of who you are massively changes when something like that hits you. And I mean, I'm quite lucky with the disability that I have, in that I'm still capable of moving around, and some people have far more limitations than I have.
Sure.
But until your mindset switches, you can self-limit what you can do. And I mean, everything that we have in the UK anyway, so, benefit system and so forth, but with regards to disability living allowance, relies on the person proving what they can't do. So you psychologically, you have to be able to get benefit, which is insane. This is a whole different conversation, but it's insane that to get the aid that you require to help you move forward, you have to prove that you can't do stuff, which
that's a classic
is
British
a negative
way,
mindset, right? Yeah. So I mean, I've got to prove this. I've got to prove I don't want to get caught doing this because they might take my benefit away, or they might do this, or they might do that, or it's just madness, man. I mean, it should be flipped on its head. It should be looked at, how can we help you do more? How can we build your confidence up? How can we help you to broaden your horizons? What would you like to do? Those questions that are focused on what is possible as opposed to what's impossible is a much better way to go. you've got to be. I think the confidence thing comes into it because I think you have to be prepared um, to not be able to do something, to get there and to not be able to do it, and
Mm.
to know that. I mean, if I walk up, I mean, I'm wearing shorts today, and you still get it now, where I'll go into the shops and I wear a big brace on my leg, so kids stare,
Of
people
course.
look,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they will do, but that's fine by me because, to be fair, if I was a kid and I saw somebody walking past with my brace on my leg, I would probably look. And I
Yeah.
would rather, it's the openness. If we see more of it, if we see more wheelchair use, we see more brace use, we see more of this stuff on TV and in TV and films and programs, then it becomes less unusual and people will feel more comfortable to go out there and to push their boundaries and to start that process of building their confidence.
Yeah, because I interviewed Renee Bruns. She has been to
Okay.
150 countries as a wheelchair user. I think she might have a Guinness World Record, potentially, for some of the countries she travelled to or the mountain that she's travelled to. And that was an interesting conversation because I think she was similar to you, like happened really early on. So there's that mindset
Mm,
shift, and I think they're still trying to work out what's wrong with her leg. But
mm,
she has to do the whole wheelchair thing, right? And it's just interesting that she's like, nope, I'm gonna almost see it as a positive thing. It's a new thing. I'm gonna use it and change that mindset from what you just described, people who may be trying to claim the benefit, which is understandable because people need money to live. But actually, now
mm.
I'm going to flip it and make it part of my life and part of me. And that's exactly what she has done. And she travels so many countries like this. It's incredible, really. It's quite inspiring.
That is inspiring, and that's exactly it. It's mindset. The manifestation of a physical disability is what it is.
Yeah.
But you've got a choice of how, well, she's had a choice of how she looks at it, and that's either positively or negatively, and she's chosen to go that route, and that's inspirational stuff. So I mean, there's loads of people out there doing what I do, and they're
Okay.
doing it with like you say, in wheelchairs and things
Yeah.
like that. That have, I walk with crutches, fine, but wheelchairs is another level entirely. But what it
Mm.
does do is it means we appreciate the difficulties that are inherent in certain situations, irrespective of whether it affects us directly or not, because we always perceive things from a slightly different perspective. We look at it from, I might easily skip upstairs on my crutches, but I'll be keeping an eye out for where that ramp is, or is there trip hazards on the way up, whatever it might be, because that's in my head.
And also, yeah, I've got a question about that because I said in the bio that, well, close to the bio, we met in India. So Matt and I, bit of context here for the listener, we're both on a press trip in India early this year in Bangalore. And we weren't in the same group at the start, but towards the end, we're part of the media group. So we kind of got separated from the travel agents and destinations and stuff. And we kind of had a few days exploring. I actually wanted to ask you, I'll set the scene and I want to ask you what happened. The scene was we had this Indian politician minister come in, and what happens in India is they are followed by like 100 people, and when they turn up in a car, everyone gets out of the way. There's cameras, there's everything. It's quite a big thing. It's like a celebrity basically. And what happens is we have this big expo hall. I think me and Matt are maybe outside, and then you sort of drift off, and this guy walks in. And next thing I see is that, this guy is obviously slightly important, this minister guy. I see Matt in conversation with him. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? So I start taking a few photos, which you asked to do anyway, I think, asked me to do. But you're in like deep conversation with the minister. I can't remember his name or what part of the whole thing he's part of, but like, it's quite deep, and he seemed to take you quite seriously because I think you went to one of his aides and told him to do something or write something down. So what was that conversation about? That everyone saw this swarm of people with you and this minister in the middle.
Yeah, it was quite weird. He suddenly got all these TV cameras pointed
Yeah,
at me. I was like, oh, right, wow. Um, I can't remember his exact position, but he was like the second in charge of Karnataka or something
yeah,
like that, wasn't he? I think he was. But so at World UTM in London in the November before, the Karnataka representatives had been there. So Karnataka is the region in India that we were at, and they invited us to a media thing in the evening. And we sat there, and I was asking questions specifically about. They were talking about promoting Karnataka as a
yeah,
destination, and I was asking specific questions about, what are they doing to help people with accessibility and mobility issues with regards to, if they're pushing it. This is a brilliant market for them to be aiming at, because
yeah,
if other than the fact that it's a morally great thing to do, it's also got a lot of. I mean, you're talking trillions of pounds worldwide. The contribution of disabled travel, mobility, reduced travel to the travel industry every
Yeah.
year. And so they didn't, to be honest, they didn't have the greatest answer at the time, and he just
Fair.
made some notes.
Yeah.
And it was him that introduced me then to the minister, and he said, "This is the man that I was talking to you about, who asked the questions about accessible travel when we were at WTM." And that's when the minister stopped and had a chat, and that's what we were talking about. We were talking about because obviously Karnataka, I think it was the first expo that they'd done for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were talking about how they could push it, and that's what he wanted to talk about. And he wanted to assure me that they were building in accessibility to their plan
Okay. Yeah.
in India.
Yeah.
And I mean, India, there'll be some big challenges in doing that. It's a
Huge.
massive place,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's going to be some big challenges in doing it. But it's great that it's on their agenda to do it. There was a genuine feeling that they wanted to add that into their plan and make that part of how they were going to develop their tourism in Karnataka.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. That's all we can ask for, really.
And they're really pushing that state. I think that's why we're there, because they've decided that India gets all the highlights of Delhi, Agra, Taj Mahal, Goa. But I think they really want to concentrate on their state and pushing that. That's why they invited a few media people. I guess they'll do the same next year and probably invite more, I'd imagine. And as we're here,
I'll see you there again.
Yeah. I was going to say, as we're here in India on this conversation, we both went on separate trips. So what happens is I think there's like four trips. When we sign up and get invited, we get to choose one. And we chose different ones. And I think we chose a very different experience each. So how was your experience? And what did you see on your little mini trip before we met up at the end for the expo?
Okay. So do we talk about the organisation of these trips?
You can go as PC, general, as diplomatic, whatever you want. I don't know what you saw, what the aim was to see. So I'm keen to see and hear what you got up to.
So our trip was based around. It was called the Heritage Trip. So we went deep into the heart of Karnataka. And I mean, India's history is just. I mean, India's a huge country in the first place. I mean, Karnataka's state, the state that we were in, is the size of the UK, and has the same population as the UK, and it's one state. Yeah, it's certainly a small part of a massive country, and even within that state, the range and variation of history is huge. So we were looking at a lot of temples, a lot of historic architecture. We were traveling to whether they were Hindu temples, Jainism temples. Some rock temples at Badami, the caves at Badami. We went to Hampi, which is a city that was deserted in the 1600s, I think, but was the center of a civilization. And it's massive. I've been there before. I had been there before, which is one of the reasons why I was interested to go back to see what developments they've made there. But I mean, the place itself is a city the size of Exeter, Plymouth size. Different ruins, different areas, different palaces, different temples, different all sorts of bathhouses, markets dotted around this massive area, and it is fascinating. Just the depth and the scale of the history that is there, and the stories that go with it. Again, go back to my love of mythology, that sort of stuff. It's just such an engaging place, and I kind of long in those moments to wander into those temples and just get left behind by the group so that everybody's gone home, and you get that sort of Indiana Jones moment where you're in the temple by yourself, and it has that feel to it. And I loved it. I love India anyway. It's just such a vibrant and varied place. But that trip was superb. I'm trying to think how to put it. We all really appreciated the fact that we were there. We all really appreciated the fact that we were being taken to these wonderful places and being given the time to go there. But the organisation of it was just hilarious at times. It was. I mean, we were giving our bus driver directions from our phones so that we didn't get lost anymore. And
wow,
it was fun. It was fun. But I think yours was more. You were more in the jungle side of it, weren't you?
Yeah, we chose the wildlife, and I think it's like Coffee Hill Station. That's what labelled as. So that was the Nagahole National Park to see the tigers, and some Coffee Hill stations with views. So much more nature, yeah.
So you went up for
Cork, yeah. I mean, the comeback from ours is, I talked to someone the other day about it. We're staying in 5-star luxury hotels. They're like unbelievable. Like in Cork, it is in the hills. You've got your own villa. Like the view is insane. But I actually had to stay in homestay because they ran out of space. So talk about organisation, right? We have 24 people in. They're like, hey, look, we've only got 22 rooms. So either people got to share, which people are not wanting to do, or a couple of people got to go down to the homestay further down the road. So I said, I'll go homestay. I've stayed in before. I don't mind. And actually turned out to be amazing. The homestay was incredible. A luxury homestay, I must say. But the problem I found was that we were staying in luxury hotels, but being traveled by like a school bus. So we had this weird mix of these like blue curtains that you get from school on the bus, kind of traveling for 5-6 hours a day in the bus.
Yeah, same.
And you don't really get to see much because India doesn't really work on time. So you're leaving at 8. No. Okay, no, it's 9:30. So you lost an hour and a half. It's taken an extra hour and a half anyway on the road because it's so busy or it's just slow. So I think the organisation in terms of logistics was quite poor because I felt like they didn't really understand their own state in terms of how long it takes to get somewhere, the road conditions, and just the general planning of it. So our experience was interesting, yeah.
100%. I mean, the first day, before the driver got lost for the first time, we were meant to be stopping at a temple on the way before lunch. And we left quite early in the morning, I think 7 o'clock in the morning. And we kept driving. It got closer and closer to lunchtime. And we said to the guide, like, yeah, here's your itinerary. Weren't we meant to be stopping for a temple? He said, yes, we were meant to be stopping for a temple, but it's closed today, so we're not going there. Didn't even know that it was closed. But, I mean, it's the thing with press trips. I mean, one of the things I love most about countries, I don't know about you, is getting in amongst people.
Yes.
And, you know, we were driving past these like marketplaces, I've said markets again, marketplaces and, you know, streets where streets are laden with umbrellas going down inside the road, stalls and people everywhere.
Yeah.
The colours of India with the saris and everything like that are just brilliant. And we were driving past it and we're going to a temple, which is great. The temple's great, don't get me wrong, but to spend an hour amongst the marketplace with all the people going around, all the sights and the smells and, you know, buying the odd bit of street food here and there. I think that's where experiences really happen. But the history side of it, I love as well anyway, and the stories that are attached to it. But I think they could have mixed it up a little bit more for us. Like, I mean, so Cork, you went to Cork.
Yeah.
Now there's a Cork race of people which are entirely separate to the other Indo cultures around India, like entirely separate. And it's like, you know, the Scottish not being part of England, like the old Celts, that they were there originally, the Cork people, but there was none of that was part of your trip, I don't think, was there?
No, and interesting you say that because we got a part of that at the homestay. So the mother and son who owns the homestay, when they invited us in, they got told last minute, obviously, that we're come to stay. So there's no one there, actually. It's just me and a guy called Fred. We're staying in a room each. And like, oh, do you want some food? I'll make some tea. And we sat down and they just talking to us about the Cork people. I had no idea, completely unaware about any history really of that place. But I think we got more of an understanding about the people and the culture. And the son next morning took us in his Jeep to his land and he explained a few things about what they can grow there. And Gordon Ramsay filmed his Uncharted episode there when he cooked in India. So very prestigious. But I don't think the rest of the group in Tamara Hotel in Cork got any of that. They just got taken to this luxury resort, villas, spas, whatever they're doing, swimming pools. And that's great, but they got no culture out of it.
It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, I mean, you got that experience, which
Did you on your trip find there's a difference between the media contingent as opposed to the travel agent destination contingent? And what I mean by that is, like you said about the markets, I think there's 4 of us on this. So it's me, Rosie, David, and Ludovica, right? We're the 4 media people on our trip. And we're all itching to get into like markets and local areas and in amongst the people, right? Yeah. But that's not really what the other lot want because they're not trying to sell that really as part of it, but they're trying to sell the hotel or see if the hotel can be part of their package, right? Because they've got luxury clients. So we had this like push and pull where, we're driving past like, oh, can we stop there? Or, no, crack on to the next hotel, right? It's that sort of yin and yang of the trip. Did you have that as well?
exactly the same
Yeah.
on ours. I mean, there wasn't as many media people on our trip. I think there were only
Okay.
sort of two, maybe three of us tops out of the 20 people on our trip
Yeah.
that were media. And fair enough, because they want to bring more people there. They want to encourage the tour agents and everything to make reservations and bring a lot more people over there. And they
Yeah.
are focused on where they can send people to stay
Yeah.
if that place is good enough, and then allow the people who are in those hotels to organise the day trips and the excursions
Mm.
for them. So perhaps I think they're more focused. It's an odd mix. They almost would have done better to do like a media session
Yeah.
uh, and a travel agent session.
Imagine
I
that.
think.
Imagine like they just split up the 2025 or so media people to do like that trip. I guess you got to then pick one place to do, I suppose. But imagine that we'd all be like really into it. Like, I can imagine it'd be quite a good vibe. And ours was great. We had a great group of people, but obviously there's a different thought process about what you want to see, which is absolutely fine. People are
Yeah,
different, and I'm not against
yeah.
that.
There's a different purpose, right?
Yeah, different
Yeah.
purpose. Yeah, I think we had some interesting conversations. So we all met for the first time at the Taj, which is on the outskirts of Bangalore, not the one in the centre. We meet the group, we say hi and bye, and to our like guys or people who organise it, and we got on the coach. And the first thing they tell us, bear in mind this is a wildlife tour, is that
Mm.
yeah, your 2-day, 3-session wildlife safari has been cancelled. We're like, what? This is, and someone said, oh, so what's in its place? Like, we don't know yet. We haven't got a chance to figure it out. So for the minute, there's no wildlife stuff, and people are already kicking off the first 5 minutes. They're going, well, hang on a minute. Well, we chose this particular thing to see the tigers.
Because of that.
Yeah. So they gave an excuse about the government has booked what we were doing for some delegation or experience for ministers, whatever it was. So we couldn't go
Yeah.
to the original plan. And then in the end, they got us into Nagahole National Park for one session, which we thought would be 3 hours. It turned out to be an hour and a half. And we saw no tigers. And we saw some wild elephants, which was the saving grace, but no tigers. So that was a bit of an unfortunate experience. But
James,
in a
that is.
weird way, I feel bad complaining because it's a free trip and it's a trip to see all this stuff that I didn't have a chance to see 3 weeks before that. So I was kind of a little bit laid back about it. But I think some people in the group were really like emotional because they can't then sell it as part of the package because they haven't seen it. So I think for them it's a more of a pressing
It's a
issue
little more, yeah,
because
a bit
yeah.
of an obstacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think,
No, I agree. I
yeah.
mean, for me, like you say, if it does feel odd to complain about it because it
Yes.
like anything, it makes for a good story in retrospect anyway, particularly when you're from the media side of it, because it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if things go wrong because that's part of the fun of it,
Yeah.
things happening. And it
Yeah.
was, I mean, let's face it. I mean, India's a bit chaotic anyway, isn't it? So
Exactly. Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just it did what it said on the tin.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying to David, I said, look, I travelled here for 3 months last time and I don't think anything was ever on time. Barely. It's full of people all the time. Things are going to get cancelled. For me, I was just kind of like, yeah, so what? I guess the only thing I got annoyed was the bus journeys. I think, yeah, it's long. Because at least when I
Yeah, that
travelled,
was
I was taking trains, which is a different experience. But yeah, I was kind
still
of like, this is India.
traveling by train is still one of the worst experiences of my life in India. Well, actually, it wasn't traveling by train; it was waiting for a train.
And then getting on the
So,
train. That's
yeah, well,
stressful as
so
well.
it was many years. It was I don't know. It's back in about 20. What was it? Be about 2011, 2012, something like that. And we were in. It wasn't far away actually. It was in Kerala.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we were
Fairly close.
down in in Fort Kochi. Me and a friend did a bit of backpacking around India. And we were catching a train out of Fort Kochi to go north up to Gokana, and we booked the train, and we were there in I think it was early October, so it's just as it switches over from wet to dry season. So everything, particularly
Yeah.
in the south, it's really humid. I mean, really humid.
Mm,
As soon as you walked out the door of where we were staying, you were drenched in sweat immediately. It was
yeah.
all you could do to drink enough water to keep up with the rate at which you're sweating. We got to this train station, and this train that we booked was delayed by about 4 hours. I mean, you've been to Indian train stations. There is no aircon. There is probably
Oh,
about
God,
half a
no.
dozen seats for a train of about 1 million people.
Yeah.
And there was bodies everywhere, people slightly sleeping on the floor, just everything everywhere. No air, 38, 40 degree heat of just 100, nearly 100% humidity. It was just like walking through butter. It was so uncomfortable and just hideous. It is definitely the most uncomfortable I've ever been anywhere.
Mm.
And then thankfully you get onto the train like 4 hours after you've been there and just stick your head out the window as you're drifting
Yeah.
off. Have some air. I have some air.
That's why you see those social media videos. It's not to get the content of going past like a tea plantation. It's to get the wind in the air because you're so hot.
Those things though. This is probably a bit, I don't know. Did you ever watch the young ones?
I did not. No. No.
You did not.
No.
Oh man, there's a scene for those listeners out there who have watched it where they're on their way to University Challenge and Vivian sticks his head out the window. And goes, I wonder why. I wonder why why there's a sign saying don't put your head out the window. And then his head gets chopped off by a,
Right.
by a toaster that drives past. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Little random aside there of something that flashes back into my head.
Yeah, someone will absolutely love that. It's kind of lost on me, unfortunately. Sorry.
You should go back and watch, James. You should
Yeah,
go back and
I'll have
watch
to
if you
now,
haven't
won't I?
seen the
Yeah,
young
yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Okay, India. Yeah, great place. Oh yeah, that's another conversation. I think. Well, maybe we can do one in India. Maybe that'd be another episode. That'd be great. If we dive into our own experiences from before, that'd be pretty cool. I've got
Amazing,
some
yeah.
accessible travel questions, should I say? They're kind of like what people might be thinking they might want to ask you, and this is what maybe you're right about, and we'll come to your writing in a bit. So first, I want to actually ask is there places in the world that just is easy to travel for accessibility, and maybe like a top 3 that you've experienced, and is there maybe 3 places that you travel to that just do not counter for any accessibility?
I mean, it's difficult to generalize.
Or
if you're
regions.
traveling in Western Europe is generally well provided for and is getting better all the time. The newer cities particularly, whereas older cities still struggle a little bit. And it's like, Naples is still a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Whereas Florence is quite well looked after and maintained, and it's quite easy to get in and out of places. I mean, some of the big challenges that you face is obviously getting into buildings, whether it be shops, whether it be monuments, and being able to maneuver around those buildings or maneuver around those places. Public conveniences, toilets are a huge one. I mean, it's something that able-bodied people really take for granted because you can pop into a cafe, you can pop into wherever public toilets. But if there's no public toilets that are set up for wheelchair use, for example, then you're relying on a big chain hotel or a McDonald's.
Okay.
And those are kind of like to have that thought at the back of your mind that you never know whether you're going to be able to use the bathroom.
That's stressful.
That's huge.
Yeah,
it is stressful.
Yeah.
So in the Western world, there are answers to a lot of those questions where you can go to like your Ibis hotel or something like that and use those ones. But on the whole, public conveniences are pretty good. Accessibility's on the whole not too bad. You can't say that with any sweeping generalization. There's always going to be instances in which you're going to be stuck. Research is always the big one. Don't get put off by a place without actually having done the research. And there are loads of forums. There will generally always be somebody who's been there before you that will give you some information, or you can find some information on it on the internet. And this is what I'm doing. So I'm building on my website slowly and surely. And when I get around to writing, it's like a destination guide. So everywhere that I go, reporting on each of the destinations that I go and discussing a general overview of the facilities that are there to meet disabled people's needs. I think Canada was very well set up. So Whistler, for example.
Oh yeah.
When I was there in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, just up the road from you guys. So I went with Whistler Adaptive, who provide lots of different facilities for skiers and cyclists and hikers and all sorts of stuff. And Whistler is brilliantly set up. Roll on, roll off cable cars to get up to the mountain stations. There's support for public toilets, all those sorts of things. And restaurants are all accessible. So loosely termed Western world countries are generally getting better and improving all the time. There's a lot of catching up to be done in some places, and older cities are always more of a challenge. So like I say, Naples is difficult because of the nature of the buildings. They can't they can't adapt it as easily as let's just put in a ramp out front to a restaurant which is over 4 floors with a spiral staircase in the corner. And there's real challenges there. Changes are starting to happen more and more and more, and it's becoming built into new constructs. And I mean, a great example of an old town that has made steps forward is Béziers in the south of France.
Okay.
It's just down the road from Montpellier.
Yeah.
And it's an old hill town. And despite being cobbled, so you're not going to get over that. There's still challenges there. They put a lot of good facilities into place. There's loos dotted around the place which are accessible. There's a lot of drop curbs. The traffic lights, they make noises and they vibrate so that deaf and blind people can use them as well.
Yeah.
They have built and constructed a fully accessible walkway which will take you all the way through the medieval town, down past the cathedral, lifts down onto a viewing platform out across the valley, and then another lift down to a wooden platform which rolls direct down around the edge of the town and around the edge of the cathedral, all the way down into the old town, and then you can roll straight across over the old ancient bridge, all the way up into the canals on the other side of the city, all of which is accessible.
Wow.
And even when you go down to the canals, they've got points where you can, if you are struggling with the slight incline, you can press the point and they'll send electric cars down to pick you up.
That's insane. That's next level.
That they're really good. It's just about joined up thinking at the end of the day, and they've done it really well. Because the other thing that comes into this is that when we think about, so for example, me with my crutches, or wheelchair user, or blind person or deaf person, but there's also, you become less mobile as you get older naturally anyway. And this is one of the things that I think people don't always take into account when they're constructing these things, is that you're actually doing something for a market that will involve you later down the line.
Yes,
it will be you. You will be less stable on your feet. You will be less able to move than you were before. You will need somebody to help you at some point in time, unless they suddenly cure aging. But
I think they're working on it.
So Western world, definitely Western world. The places that are developing are in a really good place. They've got the opportunity to build it into their system. So I went to Albania last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you know about it, but it only sort of opened up to out of as a communist state in about 1996. So, less than 30 years ago. I mean, their tourist industry is burgeoning at the moment.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of their infrastructure is being built now. So they've got the opportunity now to build it so that it can support this huge market of travelers. And that can be built into their structure. It can be built into it. And this is, so Ivory Coast was another great example where I went recently, that they are trying to push their market, and it isn't accessible at the moment. There are bits of it that are, but by and large it's not. But because they're trying to push the tourist industry, they can build it into what they're developing and make themselves real leaders. So I think there's opportunity there for countries that are developing to lead the way.
Yeah, there must be
probably more so than some of the countries that are already sort of built all their stuff in the 80s and the 90s and the noughties.
This is like the research question, because I've got a question like, how do you research and plan your destinations based on accessibility? But that's one question, but are you also intrigued by like East Asia? Because I'm thinking like Korea, even China, Japan, these super built up areas, and you kind of think they do things really well, whether it's like trains or buildings. I'm like, have they taken that into account? Or on your research, have you seen anything that might suggest that it's a really good country to travel to if you've got accessibility problems? Or do you think...
James, I haven't traveled much of Southeast Asia. It's one area that I've been limited in my travels on. So the furthest east.
Yeah.
So the furthest east I've gone so far is India.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
So once it goes past that, I'm pretty limited in my knowledge. I don't know about your experiences there, but I would imagine China and some of the new Chinese cities are pretty developed. I mean,
and gotta be accessible though. Yeah.
I would imagine they have it built in. They're quite forward thinking.
Yeah.
So it goes back to that thing at the end of the day, that morally, obviously, it's the right thing to do. But let's face it, businesses are going to obviously want a result out of it. They're going to want to see their money back. And the fact is that it does produce, I think it's something like for every £1 invested, you get like £4 back on return at the end of the day on investments into infrastructure that enables disabled travel. So that sort of statistics like that need to be more widely understood and more widely acknowledged will encourage countries that are developing with companies in them when they are constructing this thing, that it's an investment that makes financial sense as well as moral sense.
And also, these countries have a huge old population. Think of like China and Japan. They've got so many old people. Like, we're not talking 60, 70-year-olds. We're talking like 80, 90, 100-year-olds. There's loads of them.
I know Japan has one of the oldest populations in the world, right?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wonder if they just thought of this 20 years ago and they're already ahead of the game. I wouldn't be surprised by that because we're so stuck in our ways over here. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a really good country for you to go and check out, and I'd be keen to see what your experiences would be.
Really, it's one of the places that's on my list. Japan and China both on my bucket lists of places to go. And I really want to get over there just because, I mean, talking about things that push you into the adventure zone.
Yeah.
Going to a country where you can't even read the alphabet.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, right? That's got to be.
I mean, that's
where your phone's not going to be a great deal of use to you, is it, really? I mean, if you can't read the sign in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Google will translate it for you, but that's going to be an adventure place to go. So it's definitely high on my list of places to visit.
Especially China, I reckon, if you get into out of the big cities, excluding Shanghai or Beijing, you get into the smaller cities and the countryside, that is a challenge, I'd imagine. That'd be the adventure that I can see, what we talked about in the earlier conversation about, the old no smartphone days. I think even with a smartphone there, because it's restricted with some websites and stuff, I reckon that'd be a huge challenge. And the language as well. God. Yeah, that'd be pretty rogue. It'd be a great trip.
That would be. I mean, if you set yourself a task of going from a point in North China to a point in right in the south or down near the pool or something like that, and then just trying to wing it along the way.
Imagine.
Come on, James, you got to do that. Can you imagine the amount of stuff you'd get out of that trip?
I know. Yeah, that'd be insane,
on your list.
Yeah. I think a 3-month trip in China is high on my list, but I do have a rule. My only rule with this trip would be I do want to learn Mandarin, because we mentioned about getting stuck into the people, right, and getting immersed. I get the impression from all the social media I see that if you can speak a bit Mandarin, they love it. And I think they're really happy you've learnt it. And obviously you're going to learn a little bit about where you are, what these people do. So I think that's my rules. I do want to learn a bit of that language. Normally I kind of learn a little bit to get by, but not too in depth. But I think Mandarin is a one I want to get stuck into.
Yeah. It's such an alien language to us, isn't it?
Yeah.
It would be wonderful to be able to speak it.
Yeah.
But, like you say, I think you'd have to learn it en route as well. You pick up the basics before you go, and then just sort of really get stuck into talking to people.
God,
again, it's one of those things, isn't it? Confidence is a big thing when it comes down to speaking languages as it is traveling. It's just you've got to be prepared to look like a bit of a wally sometimes to really get involved and to really take in everything that's going on around you.
Just going to stop you right there. Matt Dennis, what a guy. Some great chat in the first half of this podcast episode. But before we crack on with the second half, if you could take a minute to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any podcast app that you use, the 5 stars would really help this podcast gain a bit of traction. And it's free, and why not? Alternatively, you can buy me a coffee using the link in the show notes. If not, go to buymeacoffee.com. Winging It is the person to search for. For $5, you can support this podcast and me, produce some quality content every week for you, and keep the podcast running smoothly. And finally, the third thing, before we crack on with Matt's awesome podcast episode, tell your friends about Winging It Travel Podcast. The best way to spread the word about the podcast is word of mouth. Tell your friends, tell them to listen in, choose one of the 3 episodes, the solo episodes, the guest episodes like today, or the raw, immersive audio cinematic episodes, and hopefully they'll like it and come back for some more. That's enough of me rattling on. Let's get back to Matt and this awesome podcast episode. Yeah. Okay. Tell us some great research resources that you might use to read about a country for accessibility.
So, I mean, magazines are always a very good start. Magazines like Wanderlust that are really useful and quite explanatory, or quite that give a good overview of places. But there is nothing like people's experiences. So YouTube's always a really good source. So just Googling people who have been there, disabled traveler, whatever country it may be. The second source then, once you've done that, is if you're looking at places that are more specific, is to Google those places and dig into it. But never, ever just trust the disabled sign, the wheelchair sign.
Okay.
because it doesn't always do what it says on the tin.
Okay.
There's instances where, that they say, oh, this room is accessible, puts a wheelchair sign on it. And then you go into the room and it's a lift going into the shower, which is absolutely no good for somebody in a wheelchair because they
Yeah.
can't get over the lift.
Yeah.
Or there'll be a gravel path taking you to the accessible room. So the room's fine. The room works, but
Can't get
somebody
there.
can't wheel up a gravel pathway uphill.
Yeah.
So these things that they kind of they need a bit of research on. They need a bit of digging around on the internet. And I think that is where, we said about adventures that maybe you can't have adventures without it because of the internet nowadays. However, as a source of information, other people's experiences of places like this are invaluable when you're planning a trip, when you're worried about whether you will or won't be able to do anything.
Mm.
Like I said, from my point of view, I'm quite lucky because I'm still pretty mobile. I can deal with probably 70-80% of the things that I'm presented with in front of me. And there's only a few things that limit me back. So I'm happy to put myself in that situation if I can then feed that information back through that perhaps this could be a bit tricky or that is accessible, even though it says it isn't, or whichever way around that might be. Because for me, I say I'm quite lucky that I can tackle a lot of the stuff that I come up against.
Okay. And airlines. Any airlines that are really good at this stuff? Accessibility?
Virgin are getting pretty good at it.
Virgin yet?
And to be fair, most airports are largely pretty good. And
Yeah.
the issue becomes the airlines themselves, the actual airplanes. And I think there's a lot of horror stories that go around about people being left on planes and when everybody else has got off, and that still happens, and that is not great.
Yeah.
Some program, Social Morgan over here recently did a program on it, showing where to get to the bathroom, wheelchair users have had to literally sit on the floor and drag themselves the aisle to get to the bathroom, and then use that bathroom, which just simply not good enough in the 21st century. It just isn't. Airports themselves are really good with the support that they give people with regards to getting across airports, with regards, help people there to help them. Even, more out of the way countries that I've been to have been really, really helpful. So, Ivory Coast recently, the airport staff were brilliant. But again, the airlines themselves are a little bit limited. And I'm afraid that the big changes won't happen until the current stock of airplanes are replaced.
Yeah, good point.
Which may happen because, bearing in mind the tragedies that have happened recently, I think there will be a lot of stock that does get replaced.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much. There's a lot of advances in it. There's some people on LinkedIn who are working closely with the aviation industry to make small changes. So you have lock spaces for wheelchairs where those chairs can be locked into place, and there's 2 or 3 seats that are reserved for wheelchair users, and then they have accessible loos on the way.
Yeah.
Budget flights are always going to be a bit of a challenge because of the nature of budget flights. Getting people up and down steps on a budget flight is never graceful, and they've got step machines that take you up, but you're on show the whole time you're going up, and it isn't a nice thing to witness or to be involved in. It will get there, but it's going to move very slowly for airlines, I feel, sadly. Virgin, like I say, are pretty good with their airlines. Some of the bigger airlines are better, and some of the bigger planes are better, but the budget planes are still struggling.
Yeah, I guess that is just, you're right, about replacing the actual plane. Yeah, I guess they're at the mercy of Boeing and Airbus, aren't they, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and of course they will do it if they realise there is a profit in it. I don't want to be cynical, but they will do it if they realise a profit in it. But the companies aren't going to buy a new plane until they've got every penny they can get out of that plane done, unless there are changes that don't cost them too much to do, such as replacing a couple of seats in a row for wheelchair accessible lock-in seats.
Yeah.
So yeah, the size of a toilet cubicle in a
yeah. As I'm thinking it,
budget airline, right? You can hardly get in there when you stood up without a wheelchair, let alone if you got any adaptions whatsoever. It's a difficult one. Yeah, it will happen, but I'm not holding my breath to see it massively changing anytime soon. There'll be airlines that follow through quicker than others.
And do you think that's the biggest issue facing accessibility travel right now? Is the before you even get there, you've got to get there, right? So if you can't get there, then that's an issue, right? So is that the biggest problem we have, is the transportation, in terms of whether that's a low cost airline or even a big?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it is if not the biggest, then one of the top 2 or 3. I mean, destinations, as I say, there are some destinations that are better than others, but
Yeah.
information is the other key factor.
Yeah.
If airlines sorted themselves out and then destinations had clearer, more specific information, that would definitely help. That would definitely carry things forward.
Okay. And let's go into your journalism side. So this brings us sort of towards the end, really, where you're writing about this stuff. You mentioned you were in the sort of hospitality sector, early doors, university, working, done an interrail trip. So where does the writing come into it? Were you always a writer? Is it something you loved? Like, where does that come in to the life of Matt?
So, kind of linking back to what I said about stories at the beginning,
Yeah.
I've always loved stories. Always loved stories, whether about people. I mean, I grew up, I read a lot of comics, I read a lot of Asterix books. Yeah. So Asterix was always traveling all over the place, going to different parts of the world with different cultures and different people, and telling great stories along the way. And then there's stories of ancient Greece, all those sorts of things. The mythology has always been part of our world, and I've kind of loved that forever. And I've always tried my hand at writing short stories here and writing short stories there. But I think as a lot of people do, they get sidetracked by a proper job.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So, one that perhaps is very good at paying their bills, but perhaps not one that makes them jump out of bed with joy every morning. And I had great fun going down that line of working in hospitality and starting off running a few Little Chefs. Do you remember those?
Yeah, Little Chefs. Bloody hell. Blast in the past.
Yeah, so running Little Chefs and then some other restaurants, and then moving on to functions and banqueting. But again, it's a lot of talking to people and finding out people's stories and being able to chat to people. I've always loved that as well.
Yeah.
So finally, when I got to the point of I was managing partnerships for a training provider in hospitality, and I knew I needed a change. I knew I needed to do something that I was passionate about. I took a bit of time off work and thought, what do I really love doing? Well, I love traveling. I love talking to people. I love stories and I love writing. Well, therein you tie all that together. What am I going to be? I'm going to be a travel writer. Let's go and tell people about the world and see if I can put the passion that I've got for it across to other people and open up other people's horizons and encourage them to get out there into the world as well. So I literally took a leap of faith and quit my job knowing nothing about the travel writing industry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In my head, it worked one way, and it turns out it didn't work that way at all. So I had to kind of relearn everything from the beginning. I was in contact. A lot of it was through sort of putting myself in networking positions where I didn't know anybody and talking to people.
Yeah.
And I came across somebody who was a travel writer, an established travel writer, a couple of people who were running a travel writing 101 course.
Okay.
It's called Talk Travel Writing.
Travel writing. Okay.
By Lottie Gross and Steph Dyson.
Okay.
And I took their 101 course, and that kind of set me to understand the industry a lot better than I did before. And then I went to another couple of events, and at one of the events, so it's just a story behind it, funny enough. This is to do with when I came to Whistler.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went to this event and knew nobody at the event. And I was fresh to the industry. I'd written one article that had been published for free on a very small website. So I hadn't done anything that had been paid at that point. And I was in this room with all these people, and it was a launch for a company or another. And this guy caught my eye in the room. I thought, I've seen from somewhere. When you get that niggling thought that you're like, absolutely, definitely sure I know you, but I can't figure out where it is. So as the night went on, I kept seeing him out of the corner of my eye, and there he is, still not coming to me who this guy is, where I knew him from, or even where I could know him from. But trundled on all the way through the evening, and just as I was about to walk out, he was stood there talking to a couple of people. So, sod it, I'm going to say hello. Said hello. Really sorry, I think I know you from somewhere. I've got no idea where I know you from. We started chatting, and I didn't know him from anywhere, but it turns out he was the rep from Destination Vancouver.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah.
So he was a rep from Tesco, and the lady he was from was the person from Go Whistler,
Yeah.
and they were also with the PR, and they were over promoting the Invictus Games, which were forthcoming. I
Yeah.
think they were February this year, I think, weren't they? And they were looking for people to come over and do a bit of work with them so that they could get a bit of publicity in the UK. So we were talking about my story, and obviously I was on crutches at the time. Well, I'm on crutches, so they were asking about that. Absolutely serendipitous, because they were looking for somebody who would be invested in talking about the Invictus Games and what Whistler and Vancouver could offer for less able-bodied travellers and less able-bodied people going there, and how the Invictus Games would help to expand the horizons and the accessibility within BC. And they offered me my first press trip.
Okay.
Out of that conversation, out of thinking that I knew the person who I had no. I call it was my brain. It was my subconscious saying, you've got to go talk to that person.
Yeah.
You have to go and talk to that person.
Yeah.
And it was weird because I saw him all the way through the night. I just could not get it out of my head that I knew this guy. And so they offered me the opportunity to do that. And then I managed to get a piece with the I newspaper and another piece about the First Nations. So the Squamish, the Lilwat, the Silwatooth, and one more I missed out.
And that will be one I should know.
Come on, James.
God.
Lilwat, Squamish, Silwatooth.
I work on the land.
Musqueam.
Musqueam.
Yeah,
Musqueam people.
Musqueam.
I'm sorry, because my job is on Musqueam land. I'm sorry.
The
unceded territory of Musqueam people, yeah.
Yeah. So I did a piece for adventure.com about that, and a piece for Travel Weekly. So off that one conversation, I had 3 articles that were paid and published.
Yeah.
That kind of gave me my portfolio to be able to more confidently approach other publications in the future.
So how does it work for you? Do you figure out a topic, maybe like propose a pitch, and then see if they like it, or do you go and get the story first, write it, and then pitch that? How does that work?
It works differently in different parts of the world. So the States, they tend to want you to have travelled first and then have the story and go to them with the story idea.
Yeah.
Whereas UK is much more based around you coming up with an idea and then approaching the different publications, whether it be press or magazines, with that idea, and then saying yes or no, and then you telling them roughly when you think you're going to be able to provide them with copy for that article. And then you go, if you're organising it independently, you would then go and find out who the PRs are for certain regions. So the representatives for whether it be tourist boards, whether it be people representing hotel chains, whatever it may be, to begin to pull that trip together so that you can then go off on that trip and then write the story. Press trips are somewhat easier in that they will be organised by that region to promote specifically that region. So they will give you an itinerary, first of all, and you can get a bunch of ideas off of that story, off that itinerary, which you can then go and pitch. And then if you successfully pitch, that kind of reserves your place on that press trip.
Oh, okay. So you applied to go on the press trips.
So, so for instance, we'll take the one with BC. Yeah. So they came to me and said, we'd like you to come on this press trip. This is the itinerary. And we're going to need what they call a tier 1 publication, which is national press, international, top end magazines. Yeah. So then I look at their itinerary. I would work through that, come up with a few ideas, start pitching it to different papers and publications. And then the I came back, said yes. So I go back then to PR, say, I've got this story for the I. PR says, great, I'll check it. Yeah, we're happy with that. Brilliant. You can come on a trip. Your place is secured.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So then you get back once you've had the trip, and you write and send it back off to whoever. But of course, then you can also write other ideas off the back of it and get other stories out there for different publications. Because what happens, as we know from India, what happens on the itinerary isn't always what happens on the trip.
But there's actually for us no deliverables for that press trip in India, right? So that must be quite unique. I don't know if that's the first time you've been on a trip where you really don't have to do anything after.
I mean, I made a few videos out of it, so I also made some videos and bits and pieces, but largely no writing.
Yeah, interesting.
I've still got one idea which I might write up after that, but I'm not going to put that on here because somebody might nick the idea.
Don't declare that.
But the India one was great because I like making videos as I go places as well, and because the Bezier one was really popular on my YouTube channel because it's video some of the places and the pathways that you can go, which is another great way of getting the information out there to people who are looking to go different destinations and see how accessible they are.
Mm. A few questions left. You mentioned about networking, so I guess my question here about tips to give people who want to start off as a freelance travel writer. I've asked this a few times on the podcast, but I'm keen to get your thoughts. I guess that is like networking, being ballsy, being a good writer, I guess is a good thing as well. And obviously interested or experience in the stuff that you're writing about. What I find interesting about travel writers, and this is a bit of a rant, I see a lot of travel writers who do more moaning on LinkedIn than actually doing traveling about not getting on
Really?
press trips or not getting like enough coverage or enough opportunity to write. I'm like, because I'm not a writer. I'm not in that world. I'm like, well, just go out and travel and get the story first, and then see what happens. Like, there's a few writers like that who I know who are a bit more proactive, should I say? But yeah, just an interesting world that I stumbled across.
It's a tough gig. At the end of the
Yeah,
day, it's a tough gig. You don't get paid very much.
yeah,
So to be honest, the traveling first and then hoping you get something when you come back, if you do that for too long, you're just going to run out of money.
sure, yeah,
So
100%.
I can appreciate that those people that are there
Yeah,
saying that they need the press trip first. But if you've got the ideas
mm,
that make for an interesting, unique story, and somebody somewhere will pick it up if you write well.
yeah,
And I would say networking at the beginning, when networking all the way through, is so important. I can't, go to events, go talk to
yeah,
people. Don't worry the fact that you don't know it, because everybody didn't know something at one point in time.
yeah.
Everybody was in your position once. I was in your position once, and I still am in the position once. I don't know. I mean, I'm only like a year and a half into this, James, so I'm still right at the beginning
Of
of this
course.
career. Year and a half,
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. I'm still right at the beginning of this, but um, it goes back to the thing. People are lovely. Most people want to talk, and if people are passionate about what they're doing, they want to talk about it. And if you have the passion to want to do it, and you want to travel, and you want to tell stories, and you're good at doing it, then people will recognize that at some point in time, and it will come across when you're talking to people.
yeah. I
Someone will
guess you.
give you a chance. You might pitch something and then not hear back for 6 months, and then 6 months
Yeah.
later somebody pops up and it pops into their head. Oh, that guy that you were talking to, I was talking to the other day. He was talking about India and he seemed really positive about it. Let's see what if he wants to write this piece for us. And then suddenly somebody's come to you and asked you to write a piece for them.
Yeah, I guess it's like putting the little like stones in the water, right? Just keep chipping away, throw them in, and then hopefully something comes later. Because I think pitching is a thankless task, isn't it? I think you've got to accept that you might not hear back ever, or as you say, it could be like a year down the line or whatever, right? It could be a slog.
I keep a spreadsheet of all my pitches,
Oh
and
yeah, oh yeah,
um, and I color code it.
okay,
So pitches that are red, that pitches that have been replied to, and um, where a no.
yeah,
Pitches that are a green were pitches that are replied to and they've taken it,
yeah,
and pitches that are a white are pitches that I've pitched, chased, and have never heard back from.
right,
80% of my spreadsheet is white.
okay, yeah. So I can ask that.
Easily, well, easily, yeah.
Yeah,
70, 80% of
yeah,
the spreadsheet is white that you've just never heard back from.
fair. I think that's just real life. That's just what happens, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've done a
yeah.
few pitches
It can
before.
be
Yeah,
it can be a bit disheartening,
of
but
course.
I mean, the editors out there, there's limited amount of magazines, there's a limited amount of newspapers. They get hundreds of pitches, so that's why networking is so important, and that's why
Mm.
having a good tagline is so important in what you're writing.
Yeah, are you quite unique, or is there quite a few people doing accessible travel content?
When I started, I thought I was going to be quite unique.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm not. There's a lot of writers out there doing it. There's not that obviously. I mean, you can see it as a niche, and it is a niche really. But there's a lot of writers out there doing it to different degrees and in different mediums as well,
okay,
which is great because it just means that there's more information out there. And at the
yeah,
end of the day, there's a whole world more of travel writers that are able-bodied out there doing it, and we're just putting a different angle on it to address a different part of the market.
interesting. Yeah, huh? I
Yeah.
find it interesting that people would write about accessibility travel, but they're not experiencing it themselves.
You see, right? I say so. I mean, it is so. I wouldn't write pieces that are exclusively. I'm unlikely to write pieces that are exclusively about accessible travel because I want it to appeal to everybody. There's no
Yeah, yeah,
reason why I
fair.
should
Yeah,
exclude anybody from
yeah,
a piece that I write, but I want it to be embedded in everything that I write so that there is information there that's useful to people who want that information.
mm.
And I think, even if you don't have a disability, but if you have an awareness of it. So I have a friend who's a writer and she has disabled kids.
Okay. Yeah.
So her experience is really, really useful. She's not disabled herself, but she has experience of traveling with
Yeah. Yeah.
people who kids who are disabled.
Mm.
There's different perspectives to take on it, and I think everybody's viewpoint is useful because it brings more to the forefront.
Yeah. Okay. Agreed. Okay. And to finish, where can people find your work? And maybe YouTube, social medias, and websites.
So on YouTube, I am the Empowered Traveller. That's traveller spelled the English way. So
The
with
right
two
way.
L's, not one
Yep.
way. Yeah, the right way.
I got US dominant audience, so better retract that statement.
Instagram as well. Matt the Empowered Traveller, and my Facebook I don't use massive amount, but it is the Empowered Traveller on Facebook as well. I'm also on LinkedIn under Matt Dennis,
And website?
so I can be found on there on LinkedIn.
And website? Do you have a website as well?
Oh yeah, of course I have a website.
Yeah, most crucial thing.
God, James, it's a good job you're here.
I'll
So
put LinkedIn on there as well. Yeah.
the website is www.theempoweredtraveller.
Oh, no, okay, cool. Yeah,
No, there.
I'll whack those in the show notes so people can click on those and get in contact with any way possible. I guess you are open to maybe people want to talk to you about. Could be accessible travel. Could be maybe want to work with you. I guess anything's open on those sort of doors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to have a chat with anybody about destinations or, anything that's going. Just want to promote more of the world to more people.
Lovely. Okay, and to finish the episode, we're going to do some quickfire travel questions. There's like a little feature at the end. So normally top
This
three.
wasn't in your plan, James. Was it?
Yeah, it's always in the plan. Every guest gets
Was
asked
it?
this. Yeah. It's at the bottom of the notes.
Okay,
If you look at the bottom, it's just at the little bottom
Was
there.
it on that third page, Tyler? It's
Yeah.
just like that at the top.
Yeah.
I didn't get that far.
I'll
Okay.
actually start with an easy one first. What trips do you have coming up in 2025 first? Let's start with that. Like for the rest of the year.
Okay, so I have got a couple of really big trips I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
So I'm actually off to Finland tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, Tuesday morning. And that is a really good one because it's 80 years this year that The Moomins was written by Tove Jansson.
Okay.
You looked blank as I said that, James. It's
very.
So Moomins was a kids cartoon. It is a kids cartoon program. It was big in the 90s and in the 80s and 90s, and then it's made a resurgence in the last couple of years as well. So any of your Japanese readers definitely will know it as well because it's big in Japan.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm going doing a bit of research into Tove Jansson and also doing a piece for the newspaper on why Finland consistently hits the happiest country in the world.
Yeah.
So that's going to be exciting. And I'm doing that by Interrail. But that's a train journey as well.
Hang on. So you're going London to Paris.
So I'm flying to Helsinki and then doing the Interrail around Finland. So I've got 5 different destinations in Finland. I'm going to Helsinki, Turku, Tampere, Jyväskylä. They're going to kill me for these pronunciations.
Yeah, it's a tough language. I'll give you that.
It's a lovely sounding language as well.
It is. Yeah. It's more Slavic, isn't it? I think.
Kind of. So it's not Russian. It's not any of the Swedish languages, and it's of its own. It doesn't bear much relation to any other language in Europe. Yeah. Weirdly, I think it sounds a little bit like Portuguese.
Oh,
oddly
left field.
But
yeah.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. So that's the next immediate one. But the one after that, I'm specifically focused on accessible travel. So I'm heading out, and actually my other half, Adela's coming with me on this one, which makes it extra special. So it's going to be super cool. But we are traveling with somebody who I've met at World Trade her company specializes in accessible travel. We called it Il Viaggio. She's called Stephanie Protti, and it's to Costa Rica.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything, we're going for 2 weeks, 15 days. And everything that is involved in that trip is accessible. It can be done by anybody.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And that's what her company specializes in.
Yeah.
So we're not staying in one place either. We're moving around as we go for the 15 days. So it will include things like rafting, kayaking, horse riding, turtles, beaches, wildlife treks, going up volcanoes, a whole range of things, and everything is focused on that accessibility aspect of it. And she's an amazing woman. She advises other people on to make their businesses accessible. So to the extent that when they had lockdown in COVID era, she didn't sit on her hands. She put into place a scheme of advice that the government's brought in Costa Rica to advise people on how to make their resorts, their hotels, their trips accessible for everybody. And she has also started up various different charities that work in conservation and within accessibility as well. So she has one that encourages locals to collect plastic that's found on beaches.
Yeah.
And that plastic's then brought back inland, recycled, and made into pathways that can be laid across beaches so that wheelchairs can access the water. It's
innovation.
Amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm happy to be doing a piece for Lonely Planet.
Oh, lovely.
On that one, and going to be doing a few more pieces as well along the way for it. But yeah, that's going to be really good.
God, I'm really super excited. That. Oh, amazing. That'd be like a real adventure. By the sounds of it, you're going to be like busy, lots of different activities. God, that'd be awesome. Good on you.
It's going to be, and I mean, this is the really exciting. Like, although I did say just a minute ago, I don't write things that are exclusively about accessibility. The balance on this one is going to be hugely in accessibility as well, which is going to be really interesting. And what will also be interesting is to see who picks up the story ideas when I come back, to see who genuinely is interested in publishing those stories.
So you have like Lonely Planet who are guaranteed to do one.
Lonely Planet who are guaranteed,
and then you're going to pitch out to other ones to see if they, well, they should be picking that up. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, I hope so, because this is, I mean, you talk about people pushing the boundaries of adventure. This is the opportunity for people to go do stuff that they didn't think they'd otherwise be able to do, and really pushing the boundaries of what they can achieve.
Unreal. Okay, right, let's get to the real travel questions, like quickfire ones. Top 3 favourite countries you travelled to?
India, 1.
Yeah.
100%. Just love it. This place is absolutely bonkers. It's just mental. So that is, without that, number 1. Number 2 is Italy, because I love Italy.
Of course.
Italy's just gorgeous. The food, the wine, the countryside, the people, the history, just wonderful. And weirdly, I always think Napoli is the closest you can get in Europe to India. It's just mental in Napoli.
Looks crazy. I've never been. Yeah.
3. I'm not just saying this, but I love BC.
Oh yeah,
when I came to British Columbia, and up to Vancouver in the mountains, and I was blown away by the scenery. The scale of it is, for somebody from England, is just huge,
breathtaking,
beautiful.
Okay, what about 3 countries you've not travelled to? That if tomorrow, no rules, you can go anywhere. Top 3, where you going?
We've already mentioned 2 of them, right? Japan, China.
Yeah,
definitely. It would be Southeast Asian countries. So Japan and China for sure. I'd like to go to more of Africa, so maybe somewhere like Congo or Central African countries. I think would be really interesting to go and do a bit of exploring in. My palate's been whetted by the Ivory Coast recently.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fair enough. And talk about food, actually. Top 3 favourite countries for food.
Oh, come on. It's the same question, surely. That's like India, Italy, France.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'd probably put Italy top. Italy's food I could just live on forever.
Of course.
That's just beautiful. Pastas, pizzas, lots of vegetables, lots of fresh food. India's just because I'm a vegetarian or a pescatarian. So India, it's the
easiest
range and diversity of vegetarian food is just superb. And when we were there, I mean, irrespective of the quality of the places that we were staying in, the food was brilliant in all of them. They were really, really good. And France, well, yeah, French cooking is great. I went to the Dordogne recently, and I mean, I think one day I had 11 courses of food, 12 courses of food with wine. It was lovely. I mean, I came back about 2 stone heavier than I left, but
who cares?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a sunrise or a sunset person?
Sunrise.
Oh, well, hey, I never get that answer. And what about
sunrise? I kind of, it's difficult. I find it difficult to get out of bed, but I love it, and I get up early.
Okay.
And I like sleeping, so I like going to bed early.
Fair. If you could move to a country tomorrow and live there for a year, I'm going to have to exclude
India and
obviously,
Italy.
yeah, and obviously probably maybe France. You mentioned that too many times. Where are you going to live?
Where am I going to live?
Can be somewhere you've been or somewhere completely new. Entirely up to you.
I mean, I would love to go somewhere entirely new. I would love to spend a bit of time in Brazil.
Oh yeah,
I'd love to to live a little bit of time in some of the African countries. Actually, I'd like to go somewhere maybe like Laos or Cambodia. I think would be an interesting place to go and live for a little while as well, just so that you've got a completely different environment to be in for some
okay.
time.
And has there been a country, or more specifically a place or region, that you travelled to that you didn't like?
Yeah, India. It's the best and the worst place in the world.
Someone else said exactly the same thing. They love and hate it.
Did they really?
Yeah, they love and hate it.
I mean, yeah, I love and hate it at the same time. It is the best and the worst place I've ever been. But I mean, outside of that, I don't think I've ever been anywhere that I just haven't liked. The bits of Egypt can be a little bit overwhelming at times. There's a lot of pressure on you to buy things and a lot of people hassling you all the time. So I think Egypt can be a bit challenging sometimes, but I don't think it would stop me from going back.
Okay. If you could sit anywhere in the world for a cup of coffee and watch the world go by for an afternoon, where are you going to sit?
I would sit in where would I sit? I think it would probably be Naples.
Yeah.
Find a square in Naples that's good and open, and the people, there's so much life lived on the streets in the middle of Naples.
Yeah.
It's just all in front of you. It's like having EastEnders going on in front of you. It's just, it's great. It's like a soap opera in real life. So much going on. And so with a cup of coffee, and in the old days, I probably had a cigarette as well at the same time and just sat back and watched the world go by. Lovely.
Okay. And next one is landmarks. So what's your favourite landmark? It can be nature or man-made.
The Rockies in Canada, stunning. I mean, stunning, standing on top of or looking up towards Black Tusk. Is it Black Tusk? It is Black Tusk, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing.
That was beautiful. But we went to, so recently there was when I was in Ivory Coast, we went to Yamoussoukro, which is, it's now the capital of Ivory Coast.
Oh, okay.
In the centre of it, there's a basilica. And the basilica, like proper Christian basilica, you wouldn't look at a place in Rome. It's the biggest basilica in the world. And its walls all the way around the basilica are made of stained glass. Every single wall, every panel is stained glass. And it is said, how true it is, I don't know, but I can imagine it might be not far from the truth, that there is more stained glass in those walls than there is in every church in France put together. And it is spectacular. It really is spectacular.
What a stat that is. Unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. And it blew my mind. It blew there was 5 of us on the press trip, and everyone was, irrespective of how religious we were stood there absolutely gobsmacked by the place. It was incredible.
Okay. And penultimate question is going to be, what countries' people have maybe gone out of their way the most to help you out? Like the nicest, or you've really been stuck and they've come good. Is there anywhere that you'd like to give a shout out to?
It's hard to pick one place out, but I mean, it's probably going to be Italy, because that was the place that I went to first of all when I was sort of like pushing and growing my confidence. And just, like I said, that story of the little old lady that helped me, not only gave me directions, but took me, literally led me by the hand to the place, and where people have gone out of their way to help you to get a place to stay for that night, and people have invited you into their homes. It just, such a friendly country. Albania was really, really similar. They might not have a lot of the resources over there, but I mean, people were so lovely, so helpful, so approachable. I left bus trips from talking to people with a bag of plums that had been given to me and a badge that somebody else had given to me, and just because you were talking, and half the time you weren't able to communicate effectively because I didn't speak Albanian and they didn't speak English, but still given all these gifts.
Amazing. Okay. And last question is, if someone's listening right now who's a bit nervous about traveling, they could be, I don't know, could be anyone in Western Europe, could be anyone around the world, kind of a disability, whatever it is, but you can inspire them to go and take the leap and travel somewhere that's a bit out of their comfort zone. And to give them a bit of advice, maybe 2 sentences, what would you say?
I would say book it and then research it afterwards. So do it. Just get out there, do it. Just book where you want to go that you thought you might like, book it, and then work it out because you will be able to do it one way or another.
That's great
Put
because people
yourself
say
in a
the other way around,
position.
don't they? Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it first and then work it out. You'll be fine. You'll be able to do it one way or another. There'll be a way around it.
Is that because if you research first, you might talk yourself out of it? Is that what you're thinking there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't go and book yourself into like a lodge in the middle of Namibia without knowing what's there. But if you're going to push the boundaries of where, say you've never been to Europe before, if it's a Canadian heading to Europe, you've never been to Europe before, just do it, go. If you're going to, some of the more developed countries of South America, just go and work it out. You'll be okay.
Awesome.
You'll be okay. Talk
Okay,
to
Matt.
people. Talk to people. That's a good bit of advice. Talk to people. Do never be afraid of talking to people. If you could talk to anybody that's there, people will want to talk back to you.
Kind of reminds me of we watched that film before Sunrise. Have you seen that film?
No, I haven't.
Before Sunrise. Oh,
What's it?
It's my partner's favorite film. There's a trilogy: Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. And the opening scene, I don't want to give too much away if you're going to watch it. The opening scene is them on an interrailing trip in Europe. It's American and is she German? Yeah. And they meet on a train and just talk to each other. And it starts from that. And obviously the story develops over the three, but they're filmed 9 years apart. So they're like interestingly going from, I guess they would have been like late teens, early 20s to then
really
what happened in the 9 years since to the late 20s and then to the late 30s, early 40s. I think it's like that sort of vibe. It's an interesting trilogy, yeah. I'm not a film buff, but I quite enjoyed it. And that all started on an interrailing trip in somewhere in Germany and they talked to each other. So there you go.
It is. You meet the best people. And people are lovely. Genuinely, people are lovely. Despite whatever you watch on the news, whatever you read in the newspapers, people are love as.
Yeah. Maybe it's Austria. Okay, film buffs, don't get annoyed at that, but it's one of those two countries. Matt, cheers for coming on. Appreciate it. It's been a great chat. It's absolutely flown by. And there's a load of questions we didn't get to, so that means you might have to come back on.
Oh, man, I'd be more than happy to. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, James, and talking about it all. I was just thinking about loads of stories that I've got to say. Yeah, I'm up for doing another one if you're ever up for it.
Absolutely. I'll be in touch. And it's great to see you again. Yeah, cheers for coming on.
Good to see you too. Cheers.
Cheers.